Ta-da! And welcome to Josef's Model Railway and Toy Room. Thank you so much as always for joining me. Bit of housekeeping. You don't need to like, follow or subscribe. Just put the videos out there where I can. Have a whole bunch of fun doing so. But as you can see behind me, of course, we have the feature layout, and underneath in this section, the lower red level, that will be what is going to be our fiddle yard where we're going to store our rakes of rolling stock and coaches. Now, that being said though, we're not going to be using it all the time. However, if we do need to get in there, the one thing I do want is the practicality that we can come on, flick on a light switch and see what the heck we're doing down there. Especially if we're down there and we're seating our rolling stock onto the track, we want to make it as easy and as practical as possible. So as a result, obviously we're going to need to put some illumination. As you know, we've done the LED track lighting underneath the cabinet and had that beautifully recessed into the diffusers. But now we're going to go down a level. And I was going to work on a similar process, but thought of a few complications that may turn up along the way. We need something simple. We need something practical. Ta-da! And in this box, for a mere 50 Australian dollars, is our complete and utter solution that we need. These can be picked up online from various different retailers, but this one's from a company called AIBOO. Well, that's how I would pronounce it anyway. Let's have a look what we've got in the box. What I really like, and I know there's plenty of this getting around and there's different options available, we've got some LED strips in here, but a couple of things that might be a little bit different than what you're thinking. First of all, why I went with this particular company is it's an end-to-end good product. Now, of course, shipping with their standard type of power transformer, which is just your standard figure 8 plug, it's the fact that they're shipping with the approved Australian plug on board. So obviously they're shipping these around the country, but rather than just giving you some pokey little adapter that is unsafe dangling out of the wall, they're giving you the parts you need to do it properly. And I appreciate that. I did email the manufacturer with a couple of key concerns I had that were quickly put to bed. So what do we have? We've got our power lead to plug it in. We've got our power transformer to step us down. We've got this tremendous on-off switch, which, while it's practical, I think we can probably do a little bit better. So we might come back and look at that a little bit later. I should point out that it's all very much this plug and play barrel type connection. So if you need to move or thread things through little holes in that, it makes it nice and easy. So we've come through with our light switch. We actually have a dimmer on this one. Again, we'll probably leave that as is, but probably we might discreetly mount that just behind one of the white legs you can see that supports the framework. And in fact, what they did do is they've given us a Y adapter. You don't have to use the Y adapter. I think I might. I'll probably mount this centrally and then send a feed out to the left and to the right. And of course, here are our adapters with the relevant extension leads. And we have some LEDs. We have 8 in the box. Again, 50 Australian dollars. 8 LEDs. It's not an RGB. This is a fixed warm white, I believe I'm using on this one. And here we go. And what I like about the rigid lights is we also have our metal mounting clips, so we can screw them underneath and then just clip them in. So it's a nice aluminium construction, nice and sturdy, 3-watt module, and that's pretty much all there is to it. So there's 8 to go in there. But what we'll do, let's just plug one in and see how it goes. Let's bring you in nice and close now. And as you can see, it's really not too complicated. Yes, indeed, woodland scenics. We've had some trees that have started arriving in, so we'll see that a little later on. But let's get started. We obviously have, I'm just using an extension lead at the moment, but here is our power outlet. Of course, depending on the country you're in, it's going to look a little bit different, but here we are in Australia and this is what we're using. So we have it here and we're just going to plug into our transformer. With our transformer, we have this tremendous green indicator light. And what I really like about this particular shade is that anyone that knows me knows I'm a stickler for getting the right shade of a color. And I really do love this shade of green any more than if you watch the underpass video when I was trying to get that right glow of orange that looked like a sodium vapor lamp on a foggy night. That's pretty much where we are. So we've got our transformer stepping it down. Again, barrel type connection, so plug and play. So as you're installing these in applications, if you need to go through something and there's only a small hole and you can't get that switch through or the dimmer through, no worries at all. So we plug it in. We've got our switch. We'll flick the switch on. I think we might do something else with that, I mean, it's good enough, but maybe I can put it in a better housing or a better switch module that's more elegant on the layout to flick it on. We get a dimmer that's probably going to be mounted behind me here on one of those white legs. Again, it's got a nice tactile on off as we switch on, and we can come on, and we've got the light here. And as you can see, it does split, so I could have a feed going off to the left and a feed going to the right. Well, we're just focusing on one, and as you can see, I've just taken them and we've used our little extension leads that are provided, which I believe are about 1/2 meter from memory, and we'll just link it together, and at least we've got a couple of lights to demonstrate. Look, what the hey, we'll take another one and we'll stick it here, and then we're all happy. Okay, right, so we're in, we've got our dimmer, got some lovely light here, and it's not just sort of for the more architectural lighting where we'd stick a light at the bottom of some cabinet work or something like that. I didn't have them plugged in, and we have a nice gentle glow like that. With this light output, we can obviously turn it up, and we're going to see something substantial underneath the baseboard. And that's pretty much what it was always going to be about. I just find this is a bit more of an elegant solution because I can get it where I want the light to be as opposed to just running one entire strip. I have all the intentions of, on either end, making sure we have one that's recessed right up at the end. So right to the edge, you're not going to get shadows where you can't see into it. We can see it all. So it's nice and practical, and it's as simple as that, exceptionally plug and play. We'll modify it where we need to make it a bit prettier, but it's time to get these things installed. Okay, so why not join me? I've just popped one of these lights up, as you can see, and everything's happy. Move along here to the canal. We're just going to skip that little section here, and we're going to move over to the next section. So what I thought we might do is just pop the camera down, and I'll show you my procedure of what I'm up to with getting them in. But let's be fair, it's pretty straightforward. Okay, I'm right-handed, so I'm not sure how well this is going to work. We want it to be in the center. We don't have to worry if it's a little bit left or right. They slide along easy enough. So what I like to do is just take some sort of a marker, and I'm using a piece of scrap track that's at the measurement I actually want. I've just put a couple of black marks on the track for orientation so I know where I'm going with these clips. So I'm basically, roughly, we're going to have a clip here. So we're just going to put a dot here, and we'll need another bracket not far away. They're not that long, remember. Now the reason I marked the track is I'm not sure about the sleeper spacing on where everything is, so by doing it this way I get a reasonably consistent position on where everything will be laid out. Once we've got those little holes in, the easy part is we're just going to whack the screws in, give us a bit of a pilot hole. Great thing about using an impact driver, of course, is tight spaces. It's much better. Okay, so we'll just come in with that. I've got two nice neat holes. These clips are, now look, they're clips, aren't they? Let's not get too pedantic. Try and get our screws in a little bit there. Now we could just take our standard screwdriver and whack them in, but I think like most blokes, I don't think that way. Get the screw enough that we can see it and hit our hole. Now you probably can't see that from where I am. Doesn't matter how tight you go, they'll still spin easily enough around when you come to manipulating the light in. Once again, screw in, grab a clip. That one could have been a little further, oops. Make sure you put your clip around the right way. That could have been just a little bit further away, but I don't think it's too bad. And I can hear someone arriving at my doorstep, so I'll have to cut shortly. I was hoping just to get this screw in and sit that light in, just so I could do this in one take. Again, back to our little hole we made. That's good. Okay, let's grab our Whoa. And there we go. Looks good. All right. Okay, let's just pop the camera into this position. So we've got our lights mounted up now on the brackets, and we're just going to start interconnecting the cable. Now, all of the connections, whether it be for the dimmer, whether it be for the power supply, for the switch or the dimmer or whatever, it's consistently, they're just using the same type of plug here. And so what I've just done is I've just drilled, even though I've done, as we'll talk about in an upcoming video, separate holes to do with the track feed and the point feed and bus feeds for accessories and things like that. Obviously, I just want to keep this in a separate one. So I've discreetly taken the same measurement that we were using with the track and we've put in a hole. I just wanted to make mention though, what I found the best way to find out what hole we need. It's 9mm, and this is a good tip if you didn't already know about it. When you're trying to match up a hole for something, if you can, like I'm going to be doing with the custom switch we're mounting, the best thing is to take your item, go to where your drill bits are, and in the holder, just feed your plug into the holder until you find where it fits smoothly, allowing enough tolerance for it to jiggle around if it's a bit of a tight material that it might be going through. But 9mm in this case, if you're using these AIBOO or AIBOO LED lighting kits. So let us carry on, and you can see here in these holes it slides in quite nicely. What I like about it is in the future, should any of these break down, it's quite a standardized sort of kit we've got and easily replaced, so we should have no problem at all. And plugging them in, we just push it in. Again, I've got some jiggle room back and forth if needed, and also to get them out, you just flick it down and it'll pop out very easily, but I don't intend on doing any of that anytime soon. And we've still kept the rest of the area free for our other bus feeds, and pretty much our distribution blocks will be getting attached accordingly to the frame where necessary. But I'll look forward to talking to you about that in another video, because I've got another great idea I think we're going to cover with that. Okay, I'll just flick the flashlight on the phone here, and as you can see, we've just put them all in. I'll clean up that cable. I'm not going to go through that with you in the next step about what we do, but they're all in there, and we're going to move on and just check they're all working before we carry on. So what we're going to do is we're going to get our switch and mount it here, I believe. We're going to chop this off and replace it with something that matches the rest of the decor in the house, and we'll discreetly put that dimmer elsewhere. But look, we've just got it plugged in at the moment. We just want to make sure it works before we carry on. I think that's where we all are. So if we just flick it on, there we go. I've got a bit of light going on there. Let's just turn it up now, and I'll just swing the camera around so you get a bit of an idea. See that little dark spot where the canal is, but look, I'm quite happy with what we're doing here. These lights won't be used all that much when things are set up. And I will just bring you down to the far corner. So this is where we're going to come off of the ramp and swing around the corner and come down onto the fiddle yard. But you can see I've mounted that, and of course this is where the cutout for our coastal scene is, so it's dropped down. Not that I think that's a problem, but you can see that LED's mounted quite close into the corner there to really give us a great view on anything that could be happening around the corner. So that's pretty much the story and where we're at the moment. So let's get on to cleaning up the cable. So you can see they give you plenty of options with the interconnect cable. There's a shorter one here, but of course it's just a bit too short for me. So what I just did was I just folded it back and tucked it into the hole where, as you can see, there is ample room to do that. And that's fine, but there's a few bits, particularly where the extension over the canal is, that we'll just need to fix up, and who knows what we're going to do here just yet, but we'll do that once we've got the switch in. The reason why I want to point it out is they do give you some of these clips. Now, I don't have any problem with the clip per se, because this is quite fine cable, so we won't use anything different. And it's adhesive. So the problem though is with the timber, and because it's going to be upside down over time, the adhesive does break down, and I do prefer to screw a mounting onto it. But in this case, my top tip to you is we peel back the adhesive and we'll tack it onto that piece of timber so it's holding in place.
But just before I put it on, I usually just drop a couple of drops of PVA or something on it. So as it's holding there and staying sticky, the PVA will give you that nice permanent bond with it, and it'll be there for years. I point it out because a lot of the other channels that we all love to watch and follow, they always pick up on some little mistakes where I know parts of my layout and the construction will be here until I die comfortably. And on theirs, there are just some things where they seem to jump up and down about their magnificent setup, and look at how easy things are. And I can tell you right now, with some of their technological advancements, they'll be lucky to keep going before the next update. So when you get an opportunity, try and make sure you spend the time and get things like what we're doing here right. Do your homework, do your research. It does go a long way. That's why I'm exceptionally happy about the electrical system, the way we spent the time going in and then just feeding in the appropriate circuits that were required. Get the job done right, and it's going to reward you in the future. Okay, let's just have a quick moment here. So here's our switch module, and just for convenience sake, I've just put it into our helping hands here. So here's where we've got our power going in, and here's where we've got our power going out. In case you didn't know, there's no way you would have power going out onto a live type of thing. So if you're ever wondering how they do it with male and female plugs, I'm sure you figured that out. Now, so we've got the little switching mechanism, which I've taken a moment to crack apart here. And look, even for the most simplest basic electrical and wiring thing, there is no magic as you imagine inside of here. So all we've got to do, of course, we've got one lead that nothing happened to it. It stayed completely intact here, and that's exactly how we're going to leave it as well. And then here we have the one that was just split into two, and it's a good job actually that they've come along, they've pressed it and come together. It's quite a reasonable join there, but we're actually going to cut that off, and we're going to feed it through my preferred type of switch that's going to get mounted into that cabinet. But it's a nice straightforward process. So I won't go through all the technical details of that. It's just a switch. Well, I just want to let you know if you're like me and the current one isn't meeting your requirements or doesn't give you suitable options for mounting it somewhere, because they don't actually have screw holes or anything like that. Well, this might be of a benefit to you. Let's just bring you in. This is where the faulty towers loop is. And if you'll recall in the earlier video, we did put a switch down here marked A and B, and in this situation that particular socket the lights are on will be on B. And just pay attention to the trims that we're using. This is Clipsal Series 2000. For anyone says this style of faceplate is somewhat dated, all the commercial and government buildings require this by standard, so I don't think it's going anywhere just yet. So we'd flick it on, and the whole idea is we'd flick both on, the other one would then turn our tracks and trains on. That's the whole point of it. So let's just wander over. We'll clean all this up as we go, but let's have a look what we've come up with. Let's just slide under here for a moment. And you can see we've obviously got the power in. I just put our transformer into a set of brackets there just to take the strain relief off it and keep it out of the way. And we come up to where we have a lovely switch, and of course if we flick that switch on, we have light. And of course I've just also set that dimmer there. I don't really intend on doing anything with that dimmer at all, but it's nice to know it's there, so all good. And if we just come around, you can see pretty much all I did was just take a bit of conduit and put the cables in. I usually have smaller stuff, but I only had the big stuff available, but that leaves room with the bigger one here, and that's a slotted piece of ducting that of course we can come back later and feed additional power up. Maybe that's where the track feeds will go. I really don't know. So let's just put it off, and you can see it's quite neat and tidy. Very happy with how that's turned out. Let's just temporarily, this timber may or may not be used with the fiddle yard with the way the ramp when we finish it off. I don't think so. I think we're going to use a 4 ply, structural ply for that. But in the meantime, let's get this out of the way and just clean up the work area. Well, there you go. One completed lighting solution for our future fiddle yard.
Of course, it's going to be a while before we get down there with some trains, but at least when it comes to working or doing some of the wiring we still obviously need to do on this layout, it gives us a bit of light down there to make life just a little bit easier. It's a job that needed to be done for some time and I had been putting off, but I'm very happy that that's just done and out of the way. As you can see, apart from these cords that'll all get cleaned up during the actual wiring of the layout, the wiring of those lights underneath any more than you see on the top level, we don't see any of the complications about how it works. We're just left with a beautiful amount of light and we're left to marvel in whatever it is we're supposed to be looking at. But girls and boys, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do us once again. Thank you as always for joining me. Now don't panic, we're going to see some tremendous landscaping coming up shortly, some real beauties. We're going to be back to the actual model railway itself. And I'm crazy enough to even think we need to go back to the airport. And I'm even that silly, I've even been thinking I might even build another airport. Oh dear. God help us all. Anyway, thank you so much. We'll see you in the next one. Stay safe. Toodles!